Hello everybody, and welcome. This is a HackerFrogs free hack session, and what we're going to do today is we're going to learn some basic web app and network hacking today while working through this room right here on the TryHackMe.com website called Pickle Rick. I'm going to leave the URL for that particular room in the chat right now. If you want to join along with us, you're going to need to have a registered account. Oh, Devilmind, hello, nice to see you here. If you want to join along, you need to have a registered account at TryHackMe.com. Devilmind, are you here to, have you done any network hacking? Have you worked with Hack the Box before? You might, if you follow along today, you might learn about some new tools. What we need to do first when we arrive at this room is we need to click on the green join room button right here. I notice I don't have my mouse highlighter set up right now, so I'm going to turn that on real quick. Hold on. It seems a bit... my window seems to be on the fritz. Hold on. Okay, so what you need to do is click on the join room button right here. Devilmind, do you have an account over at TryHackMe.com? It's free, and you should be able to participate in this exercise even at the free level. So this is the room right here. It's called Pickle Rick, and it's a free room on TryHackMe.com. And we're going to be working through it and learning a little bit about web app and network hacking. The first thing you want to do is you want to click on the green Start Machine button anytime we do one of these TryHackMe rooms. So just click on the button, and that's going to start the virtual machine that's associated with the room. And essentially, the VM that is spun up in here is the one that we're going to access on the virtual network to exploit. So we need to wait a little bit for this to spin up. In the meantime, we can start up our attack box as well. The attack box is I think it's a modified Kali Linux or Parrot OS virtual machine, and that's what we'll be using to interact with the Pickle Rick virtual machine. And we can access it by going up to this button over here called Start Attack Box in the TryHackMe website. So we just click on that. And it's going to take a couple of minutes to initialize. So we just have to be patient and wait for a little bit. So this is a series of kind of more informal education sessions from HackerFrogs, where it doesn't really come with a guide document, but I'll try to explain everything that I'm doing as I work through these exercises. So if you haven't used TryHackMe.com before, it's a very good cybersecurity education platform. And it has a lot of these free modules over here that you can use for learning. There is a paid tier of subscription as well, but for our purposes, we can use the free offerings, and that's going to be just fine. Okay, so what's the premise of this challenge today? This Rick and Morty themed challenge requires you to exploit a web server and find 3 ingredients to help Rick make his potion and transform himself back into a human from a pickle. All right, so to people who like the Rick and Morty cartoon, that's the theme of today's challenge room. So we're going to need to break into the web server, and we're going to need to get the names of 3 things, or basically access 3 files in order to complete the room. We're going to be using hacking tools such as Nmap, Derb, as well as Nikto. If you have not used these before. It might be fun to play around with these. As usual, if you have any questions during this session, please type them in chat, and I'll do my best to answer your questions. Or I might give your questions over to ChatGPT and see if ChatGPT can answer the questions instead. All right, so we see that our attack box has initialized over here. What we need to do is click into this terminal here and then press enter to dismiss this. And then what we want to do is put this virtual machine in its own tab, so that we don't need to deal with this this squished perspective over here. So what we do is we click on the view in full screen button, which is located in the middle of the screen over here at the bottom. Click that, and that's going to open up the attack box virtual machine in its own tab. I think that the attack box is a modified version of Ubuntu Linux, but I could be wrong. So the attack box comes with its own IP address over here. We'll need to remember this if we want to interact with the other machines on the network. And we also see that the Pickle Rick machine has its own IP address over here. When you initialize your own virtual machines, the IP addresses are not going to be the same as the ones on this screen over here. Same with the attack box. Your IP for the attack box is going to be different than mine. Just keep that in mind. Devilmind says, yes, it looks like Ubuntu. All right, so once we have our full screen attack box over here, what we can do is we can click on this button over here that's labeled Exit Split View, and click on that so that we can get the full screen web page again. Okay, so I'm gonna ask the audience, when we start one of these exercises and we open up the terminal, what is the first thing that we want to do when we want to scan the particular machine? Is there a program that we use, or is there something else that we do when we're starting one of these CTF boxes? Okay, so we have our IP address over here. We're going to copy that because we're going to be using it quite a bit. Devilmind says nmap, that is correct. All right, so what we're going to do is there is a virtual machine on the network with this IP address, and we're going to need to use our attack box to interact with it. Devilmind says that we should use nmap, and I agree. So we can paste in, remember when you paste into a Linux terminal, you have to use Control-Shift-V instead of just Control-V. We use the nmap program, and the funny thing about nmap is that there's a lot of different flags to use with the command to get different types of output. What I like to do, actually wait, before we do nmap, I'm going to do one thing first. What I like to do is I like to keep everything in one screen, especially on stream. So I'm going to use the tmux program. So the tmux program is a multiplexer, a terminal multiplexer, and we can use tmux to divide the terminal screen into a bunch of different smaller windows. So run tmux, and then I don't do very much with tmux. I just divide the screen into different sections. So each time you use the Control-B shortcut, you can either use the arrow key to switch from one window to the other, or you can use the shortcuts to create different split windows. So in this case, I created a split window that splits along, what is this? This is horizontal with the double quote after Control-B. But if you want to split along the vertical, you can also Control-B and then the percentage sign to split vertically. So what I would usually do is I split it a couple of times so that I can have multiple windows working at once. So what I'm going to do on the bottom here is that I'm going to run Nmap. So Nmap is the program that lets us scan an IP address to see if that has any open ports or if it is online. So I run it with TAC double V, and double V is going to produce very verbose output, which means that I see a lot more than usual. And then I'm going to give it a capital T4, which means it's going to run 4 threads at once, which makes the scanning faster. And then I'm going to do TACP dash, which is going to let us scan all of the open ports on the system as opposed to a certain range. And then the last thing we do is that we include the IP address. So I think the IP address is this one right here. So one thing we can also do is we can output this to a file. So I'm going to do this greater than, and then I'm going to output it to nmap01.txt so that I can get these results again later if necessary. So I'm just going to run that, and it's going to run in the background. And in fact, we can, if we ls to see what's in the directory, we can see that nmap01 is in the directory. It's going to update. It's going to update as more output is produced by the Nmap program, and this file is going to get bigger and bigger until the command completes. But what we can do right now is we can cat it out to see what it's found so far. So we cat this out, and it says that it's discovered open port 80 and discovered open port 22. So open port 22 is associated with the SSH program, which is what we use to remotely log into computer servers on the same network. And port 80 is associated with HTTP, which is regular web pages without security on them. So one thing about the chat that we can do that I added recently is a quote system that lets us know about some common ports, some common networking ports, and what number is associated with them, what service is associated with them. So I just I did bang quote, so it's an exclamation quote, and this says that port 21 is associated with FTP, and port 17 is associated. Port 1433 is associated with MS SQL. So this is knowing about what services are commonly associated with which networking ports is something that we need to get used to over time. It's not necessarily that we know automatically when we first start out, but we don't know what these things are, so we have to study and learn. So we see that port 80 is open and port 22 is open. So since port 80 is open, we can open a web browser and see what's on the web page. So here I'm going to grab the IP address again, and then we can paste this in. And just to make sure that it accesses this instead of searches for it, we're going to put the HTTP : / in front of it. And now we see we've accessed the web server. So this is not on the open internet. This is just on the TryHackMe network. And it says here, help Morty. Listen, Morty, I need your help. I've turned myself into a pickle again, and this time I can't change back. I need you to, burp, Morty, log on to my computer and find the last 3 ingredients to finish my pickle reverse potion. The only problem is, I have no idea what the burp password was. Help, Morty, help. Okay, so now that we know that there's a web page on here, does anybody know what the first steps we can try to enumerate the web page is? So I'm just I'm going to give the chat a little bit of time to answer. So if this were you, what would you do to try to enumerate this web page? Is there something we can do inside the web browser, or is there something that we can do from terminal to try to enumerate the web page? So enumeration is something that we talk about a lot in offensive security and penetration testing. It basically means to do research. To enumerate is to do research about a certain system and to find out all the information. Okay, so DevilMind says inspect. That is correct. This one thing we can do is we can inspect the HTTP source for any web pages we find, and we can access it by right-clicking and then clicking on View Page Source. So we click on View Page Source, and this is all of the HTML code that is on this that makes up this web page, and we can see links, and we can see how the JavaScript interacts with it to access different files. One thing that we should note is that there's a directory called assets over here that is being accessed to access some of these that is being used to access some of these JavaScript files over here, and there's a note inside of here as well. This is an HTML comment. You can tell because we have our arrows over here. So our opening arrow and our ending arrow. And it says here, note to self, remember username. Username, Rick rules, just like this. All right, so we can copy this, and we know that this is going to be the username for this particular, for something. We don't know what. So we're going to copy it, and we're going to keep it in some notes. So what we can do is we can echo. So echo this, Rick rules, into something called notes.txt. So we're going to make another file over here, notes.txt, and I think we're going to make sure that that we know that this is a username. So I'm going to echo and then username Rick rules, and I'm going to include this in the notes. What we can do is we can add the double greater than symbol over here to make sure that if we run this command again, it's not going to overwrite. It's not going to overwrite the input, so that we can keep on adding to this notes file. So echo this. All right, and then does anybody in the audience know any other commands or anything else we can do to try to enumerate a web server? So we inspected the HTTP source. So we inspected the HTTP source and we got something from there. What are some other common things we can do with a web page to try to enumerate it? This is something that, so I'm going to exit out of here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to run the Nikto program from the terminal. And Nikto is a program that is used to scan for different vulnerabilities in web servers. So it's just called Nikto, Nikto, and then you have to give it a host. So the host is going to be HTTP and then the IP address. Remember, your IP address is going to be different from my IP address, but for me, it's this one. And I'm going to output this to a file as well. I'm going to call it nikto.txt. I'm going to run this, and then it's going to do its thing. Okay, so one other common thing we can do to enumerate web servers is we can look for the robots.txt file. And in fact, if we look at the output from Nikto, so I'm going to cat out the Nikto file. So control. So the annoying thing about using tmux is that we can't necessarily scroll up in the input unless we do Control B and then use the left square bracket, and that's going to let us scroll up. DevilMind also says GoBuster. GoBuster is indeed something we can use to enumerate web servers, but we're going to use a slightly more user-friendly tool than GoBuster a little bit later. But thank you very much for the input, DevilMind. Okay, so what does Nikto say? So Nikto says that the server is Apache, this version right here, and a bunch of other information about the web server, such as anti-clickjacking, not present, no CGI folders. But here's one thing that we do need to pay attention to is robots.txt. So robots.txt is a file that lists which directories in the web app are not allowed to be indexed by search engine robots, such as those used by Google or other search engines. And robots.txt is a good file to look at when we're doing web server enumeration to see if what is not being indexed by the search engine robots might be some sensitive directories. So we'll look there in a little bit. One other interesting thing is that we found a login page called login.php. All right, so we can press the escape key to get out of this, and we're going to run an easier directory busting tool than GoBuster. It's just called dirb, so directory buster, dirb. And for dirb, we just need to supply a URL, which is this one over here, and we're going to output that to dirb.txt. Whoops, I don't think that's spelled correctly. txt. Okay. So we run that, and let's go back to the web page and look at that robots.txt file. So it's going to be /robots.txt. And we see in the robots.txt file, it says wubba lubba dub dub. We don't know exactly what this is. This could be a username, or this could be a password, or it could be a red herring. But we're going to make note of it nonetheless. So we're going to copy this, and then we're going to add it to our notes.txt file. So we're going to, that's echo, right? So in the first line, we echoed the username, and then we're going to echo this word right here into the notes.txt file so that we can keep track of it. All right, so let's see what happened, what we got from the dirb command. So dirb is a directory buster. It basically searches the web server for a bunch of different directory names, and if the directory names exist, then it's going to tell us that they exist, which is important for determining what sections of the web page we have access to. So we're going to cat it out. So cat out the dirb.txt. Okay, so we're going to scroll back up. So there's an assets directory over here, which is listable, which is a problem. But we also see that there's an index, there's a robots.txt, and there's a server status. So GoBuster, as DevilMind mentioned, is another directory busting tool that we can use. But sometimes I like to just use dirb because it's because the syntax for the command, writing out the command, is a lot simpler. And I usually run it once to see if I can get any easy wins with it. So what were we doing? Let's check out the login page. So here we're going to get rid of robots.txt, and we're going to go to login.php. Okay, so this is it says portal login page. Well, all right. We see here there is a field for username and password. So we know that we have a username, and we can guess that the other thing that we got was a password. But first, let's take a look at the web page source. So we inspect and look at the view. When we view page source, we see here that there's nothing in the source that really calls out to us. One thing that we could do is we could look at the assets directory here and see if there's anything cool in there. So we'll just quickly look in there. So assets. So we see here there's some GIFs, there's some Java stuff, some JavaScript stuff. And if we take a look at some of these JPEGs, these are the ones that are being used by the website. And a couple of animated GIFs. Do you guys pronounce it GIFs or GIFs? I don't remember which one is the. I pronounce it GIFs, not like Jeff the peanut butter. But anyways, let's go back to the login page. So we see here there's a login page, and we have a username and password field. We have two pieces of information, which could very well be the username and password, so we should try that out. So going back, and we're gonna cat out the notes. Whoops. Hold on. Okay. So cat notes.txt. So we have this this username and this password. Let me yeah, okay. So this is the username. I'm going to copy this. And hold on. And then I'm going to grab the password. My machine is a little laggy. Okay, so the password is this, and let's try to log in. So it turns out that was the username and password that we were supposed to use. So we get access to this command panel right here. So whenever I see the word command panel, I think of, what was it? OS command injection. So there are sometimes you'll see like a web app interface like this, where it might be accepting commands that you could that output directly to the underlying web server. Nathan Chan, from LinkedIn, says this is a really easy box. Well, that's kind of the point. What I really want to do is illustrate to some of the people out there in my beginners Cybersecurity HackerFrogs class how to do some basic enumeration. So what we can do in this panel is see if it returns any commands back to us. So we're going to do this basic command, and we see that our ls command has returned. So we see here that there is a bunch of files in this directory, and if we wanted to see what directory we're in, we'd be pwd. So this is the web server directory, var www.html, right? So we're going to execute ls again, and we see here that there is something called super secret pickle in gred.txt over here, and we can try to read it because our goal for this this particular box is to get 3 ingredients, right? So we can try to cat that out. I hate reading this. Okay, so we can try to read this file from the web page, and it says here command disabled to make it harder for future Pickle Rick. Okay, And that means that our command is being filtered by the web app. So the web app isn't going to let us use that command. So does anybody know, once we have access to an account on a Linux box that we haven't encountered before, what we're going to use, what command we're going to use to find out what the user can do? So first of all, we should probably find out which user we are with the whoami command. So the whoami command says that we're www-data, which is, I think it's the Apache Linux user that is used with the Apache server. But what is something that we can do to figure out what kind of access we have on this particular web server? So what access does the www data server user have? What access do they have? So Nathan Chan says web user. So this is the web user, and usually the web user doesn't have very much access on a box, but sometimes they do, either accidentally or on purpose. So what we can do is we can run the sudo command. So sudo -l, and that's going to let us know what commands the Linux user can run with sudo. So we run this command, and it says that our file path is this, and more importantly, it says that www-data, our user right now, may run the following commands on this web server. It can run all commands with no password, all. And that means that this user right here can run sudo, it can run super user commands with every single command on the system, which is really bad for security, but very good for us. So what can we do with this? Well, the first thing we can do is we can look inside the root directory and any other directory on the system. So for example, if we were to sudo ls root, then we can see that there, Nathan Chan says, tuck and netcat reverse shell on it first. Well, we can certainly do that. We have a lot of access, so we can do a lot of stuff on the system. But we see inside of the root directory that we can see this this third.txt file right here, and that's probably the third ingredient that we're looking for in this CTF exercise. Another thing we can do is we can ls, and we can look at the home directories inside of this inside of the web server, and we can see that there's one for Rick and there's one for the Ubuntu user. So let's look at what's in the /home/Rick directory. Okay, and we see that there's a file. Well, I'm assuming this is a file and not a directory, called second ingredient. So this is the second flag we need to get. But an interesting thing is that if we just do ls, we tried to cat out this this ingredient list right here, but because it's in the web server directory, we can actually access this from the browser. So what we do is we copy this, and then we can just, actually we're going to make a separate page, a separate tab, and I'm going to copy and HTTP, and what is the, so it was 10.10.147, no, 47.152, okay, for me. 47.152, and it's going to be 10 dot. Okay, so if we run this, we can access this this text file from the web server. Okay, and this is Mr. Me Seek Hair. All right, so we can copy this, and we can supply this as the first flag for this exercise. How are we doing for time? We're at, okay. So we can go back to the web page, and we can answer what is the first ingredient that Rick needs, and paste this in, and submit that. All right. So what is the second ingredient and the last and final ingredient? We still need to get these. All right, so Nathan Chan says, yay, first flag. Well, thank you very much, Nathan. All right, so seeing as we can read stuff from the web directory over here, and we know the file locations of the second and third flags, what could we potentially do with that information, considering that we have sudo access for every command? So I'm going to take a little break to do a redeem. I think you guys can do redeems as well. So I added this to my Twitch page. We can redeem stuff to see different little video clips. So these are my this is my backyard bird feeder, and this is a little video clip that I recorded from the bird feeder. Okay, so the answer is we can copy every flag file and we can put it in the web directory since we have sudo access. So we have so for example, we know that the third flag was something called third.txt. So we can sudo copy root third.txt, and we can just put it into the current directory, which is the web directory, and we can call it flag3.txt, just like this. So this command, because we can use sudo, it's going to copy the flag from the root directory and put it in the web directory. And once we've done so, we can run ls, and we have this file in the directory, which we can access from the other tab over here. Okay, so it says third ingredient, flee the juice. Okay, so we can copy this. Nathan says, once you are root, you are the king of the system. Basically, you can do whatever you want. That's true. That's true. So I'm going to submit this as the third flag, flee juice. All right. So everybody, if you have any questions about what we're doing, or you want me to explain how I did any of the steps in today's exercise, please let us know in the chat. So that's the third flag. So this is not typically how we do CTF boxes. We're not usually using a web app to access the system. What we usually do is we get a reverse shell and we get onto the system that way. So I'm going to demonstrate that for everybody here. And that means we're going to have to set up a reverse shell listener. So a reverse shell is basically a connection on your system that's tied to one of your networking ports on your computer. And it's going to listen for a connection from an outside server, and that's how you would access. You would access the vulnerable server in a lot of CTF exercises. So I'm going to go down to this what do you call it, tmux window over here, and I'm going to set up my reverse shell netcat command. So it's going to be nc-nvlp, and then I have to, so this basically tells netcat that you're going to be listening on a specific port in verbose mode or something. It's a whole thing. And then you need to supply a port number that you're going to listen on. So in my case, I like to listen on well-known port numbers, such as port 80 or port 443, which are usually allowed by firewalls. So now that we've set up our netcat listener, when we exploit the system to reach out to our own attack box, it's going to be able to pick up the connection, right? If you want me to explain any of these concepts in more detail, please let me know. So after we set this up, what we need to do is we need to send a command from the vulnerable web server that is going to reach out to our attacker system. Okay, so I'm going to, oh, that's not it. We need to go to our web browser. And inside the web browser, we're going to send a reverse shell command to the web server to reach out to our attack box. So I've done some. There are a lot of different methods you could try to get to reverse shell once you have what is it called? RCE, remote command execution on a box. But what I like to do is I like to use this this website called Pentester Monkey, I think. Pentester Monkey, and what is it called? Reverse shell. Actually, I shouldn't be using this one. I should be using my own. So Pentester Monkey. Oh, I need to turn on my music again. Hold on. Okay, so Pentester Monkey reverse shell. So here is a bunch of different commands you can use to get reverse shells. Nathan says remote code execution. Right. It's not command, it's code. So once you're here on Pentester Monkey and on this reverse shell cheat sheet page, there's a bunch of different commands you can use to get reverse shells depending on what is available on the web server. So I've tried out a lot of these on this box, but it turns out that none of these work except for the Perl command. So Perl is a programming language. I think it's technically a scripting language, but a lot of Linux servers come with it pre-installed. So we can use a Perl command, and I'm going to paste the Perl command in the chat. So if you guys want to give it a try yourself, you can try it out. Except for the fact that you have to replace the IP address portion, which is the start of the 10 dot over there, and you need to replace the port number, which is the 1234 portion of the command. All right. So with that said, I'm going to I'm going to go back to the web page, and I'm going to try to use Perl to get a reverse shell on the system. So it's a very long command. I need to replace this IP portion right here with my own IP address with my attack box. It's very conveniently located right over at the top of the desktop. Okay, so for me it's going to be this, and then we need to replace the port number with the port that we specified in the listener, in the netcat listener, which in my case is 443. All right, so when we run this, it's going to reach out to our attack box, and we're going to pick up the connection with the netcat listener. So we execute this, and we see that the page hangs. It doesn't return anything. That's a sign that our command went through successfully. So here at the bottom, we see that we had a connection from the web server. So we now have access to the web server. We can ask, who am I? And we can ls. All right, and so this is the part where you put on your best Hollywood hacker voice and you say, "I'm in," or something like that. I'm going to celebrate by redeeming another short video clip. And okay, so up at the top there, you can see that's a northern flicker woodpecker, and that's native to the Pacific Northwest. And I love my birds. All right, so Nathan says, "Oh snap! You popped a shell and you're in." Yes, we are in. Awesome. Okay, so once we're in, we know that we have pseudo privileges with this account because we are the www data user, and sudo l tells us that we can run all the commands because they configured this in a very secure way. So once we're here, we can actually read. We can read which commands were not allowed to us from the web page. Let's see. I'm going to ls, and so that was the portal web page that we were on, right? So we're going to cat portal.php, and this is going to let us know all the PHP commands that were used to code that page. So first of all, there's this very long. Oops. There's this very long, what looks like might be base64 encoded string right here, except that it's kind of a red herring, and I wasn't able to make any sense of it. You guys can try yourself to see if you can make any sense out of this, but I wasn't able to. And let's look further up in this output over here. So we can see here that they're using a variable called commands, and it's equal to an array equal to. It's an array with the following things inside of it: cat, head, mort, tail, nano, vim, and vi. So it's going to try to post the command that you send, but if inside what you the command you send there is this anything inside of this array, which is the different commands for reading stuff, then it's going to echo command disabled, and it's not going to execute. Otherwise, it's going to do the shell exec function from PHP to run your command on the Linux server. All right, so the last thing we're going to do is we're going to get access to the second flag on this web server. So we know that's inside the home Rick directory. So we're going to cd to home Rick. Okay, and then we see that the second ingredients is here. Does anybody know how to read this file right here? Because you can't read it normally because there's a space in the file name. What do we do to access this file? So say we wanted to cat So in fact, what we need to do, because there's a space in the file name, is that we need to wrap everything up in quotes. So it's cat and then quote, second. Okay, so Nathan supplies the answer, cat, second ingredients, wrapped up in the double quotes. So we run this and we see, and we get the final ingredient for this challenge right here. So it's one Jerry tier, copy that. And then we can supply this as the final ingredient on the web page, and we're finished. All right, so what did we do today? We used a bunch of different programs to access, to enumerate the web server, or enumerate the box, as it were. So I'm going to exit out of here. We used Nmap, we used Derb, we used Nikto, and we also split up our terminal into a bunch of different windows with the tmux command. And we also kept some notes. Nathan says, congratulations. Well, I should be able to do this since I'm giving a demonstration, but thank you very much nonetheless. All right, and we also kept some notes instead of our notes.txt file. So when you're doing CTF boxes like this, it's good to keep notes, such as so anything you find. If you find that certain ports are open or certain little bits of information, you definitely want to keep this stuff in a file so that you can copy and paste the stuff for later or just for reference. If you ever have to step away from a box and need to come back. But all right, so let's finish this off. What we need to do after we finish a module on TryHackMe is we're going to shut down the web server. We're going to shut down the VM with the terminate button right here, and then we're going to shut down our attack bots because we're trying to be nice and not take up precious resources from the TryHackMe website. So I think we can we shut down? Or do they not let it give us access to that? In any case, we can close this out, and then we can show the split view, and then we can click on this button over here called Terminate Machine. All right, so that's the end of the demonstration. If anybody has any questions about cybersecurity or about anything we did in today's demonstration, please type it in chat. Otherwise, we'll be wrapping up the stream in just a minute or two. We'll probably be back. Next week at around the same time to do another one of these demonstrations. Probably with another TryHackMe module. And on Monday, we're going to be doing a HackerFrogs After School module. I think this time it's going to be the third module from the Python course, which you can find at my website, which is the Shy Hat. So YouTube, I'm going to paste it in chat for you guys. So you can find all of the HackerFrogs After School. This is me. This is live right now. Let's see the videos. You can all of my HackerFrogs After School workshops are here. Just in case you missed any, or if you need to take a look at more abridged version than the live workshops. We currently have 3 courses. We have our green web app hacking courses, our blue Python programming courses, and we have our red Linux OS operations courses. All right, so we'll be back next week with another free hacking session. And on Monday, we're going to have our HackerFrogs After School session. But thank you very much for tuning in, everybody. Thank you to our good friends Nathan and DevilMind. Hope to see you next time. Until next time, have a great day, and we'll see you next time.